tell you how full I am. I sat down at 7. This is a true story. I sat down at 7 o'clock a.m. and I said, well, I'll take my breakfast at one of the sessions. And then by lunch, I said I will take my lunch at one of the sessions. It never happened. Every session was so impactful and so powerful. I am just grateful that to all of you who have stayed uh, to now, and I promise not to keep you as an academic, a good academic. I set my timer so that I will only take my allotted time. But I wanted to just talk to you a little bit about storytelling towards the end of the day. This is the end of our day, and others will come and conclude the day. But what I wanted to talk to you about is some of the work that we have been doing here at Medgar, myself and my co-editor, Micah E. Crump, in terms of the book that we're working on. And, one of our associate who's been working with us actually talked to the publisher and found out that in the UK, the book has already dropped pre-advance on Amazon. And we're not even finished with the editing yet. So it's a lot of pressure. But the title of our book in the last session really spoke to this, is Sustainability and the Future of Work and Entrepreneurship for the Underserved. And primarily what we're intrigued with is some of the issues related to the wealth gap. As the previous speakers have said, and I'll just tell you the data speaks to this, that in the U.S., the wealth gap now is greater than it was in the civil rights area. We have lost grounds, colleague. We have lost grounds. And so what we have said, or what I have said, is the future of work and entrepreneurship for the underserved is a struggle for humanity. That is our why. That is why we do this work. A lot of work is going on in D and E, in the D and E world. But the outcome, if you net the outcome, we see that there has not been a whole lot of movement. And so in around 2016, we were granted some funds and we did some work in some conferences. And we started to work together with many of our colleagues in Kenya, in Jamaica, in Chile, and several other places. But in 2018, the data became available where we could actually do normalization of income across countries so that we could see the income disparity around the world. And some of you may be sitting and thinking, oh, in the developing countries, that's a developing country problem. No, my friends, it is not. As the map gets darker, and Mike, it reminds me, I have to talk slower here. You know, sometimes I get that New York talk and I move so fast, but I have to slow down right here. The darker the map, the more inequity it is. What this map says is that 10% of the national income, 10% of the population earns the darkest 50 to 70% of the income. So that's the deep, dark areas. But many of you may say, well, that's not a problem in the U.S. That's not a problem in USSR, to developed country. It is. In the U.S., the number is 10% of the population are driving 50% of the income. Now, let me break it down for you. What that means is 90%, that's the rest of us, have to live on what's left over. That's 50%. That is why this is such a problem, because we don't believe that's sustainable. I heard earlier some of the panelists talking about different dysfunctions causing riots and challenges. People who want to survive are going to try and find a way to survive. And so there are a lot of programs going on now talking about, well, how do we develop programs just to pay for people, because they are forecasting that there will not be enough jobs. Now, it's not that there are not enough jobs. There's a misinformation. Jobs are being created in places and the workforce is not upskilled or retooled to get there. And COVID made it worse. So let me Let me talk a moment about the book. We present a global perspectives from diverse voices on sustainability and the future of work and entrepreneurship for the underserved. We heard about small businesses. We heard about small business development. And in the New York market, many small businesses went under during COVID. And some of them, you heard Randy said, are coming back now and they're coming back better. But what I want to say here is this is not a US only problem. This is not an Africa only problem. This is a worldwide global problem, and it is not new. It is just that we have not solved it. So last year we actually did a book on the future of work and entrepreneurship for the underserved. That book, Professor Dada was very kind. Him and his publishing group published that book. But as soon as it was published, I will tell you, another publisher came and said, we liked the work that was done in that book, but what about sustainability? And let me tell you, the other issue is a lot of folks tell our story. Did I miss that slide? Hold on. Let me see if I can go back. Yes. A lot of folks in this particular niche, the future of work or the future of work and entrepreneurship, are telling stories about Black and brown people. And sometimes they not misrepresent, but misinterpret. So the great Maya Angelou, the poet, said, there is no greater agony than bearing an untold story inside of you. Colleagues, if there's nothing you remember that I said today, remember this. Do not take your story on. Make sure that your story is told. Many of the presentations have been brought here and they are not documented. So we are the only ones who will get access to it, or if the link is available, those are the only ones that get access to it. But what we inspired our colleagues to do last year was to share the story of the future of work from their lens and from their perspective. And so we also are doing that this year. So let me go back. I already told you about the gap. Okay, so that's the why. And we told you it's a global perspective. And I'm always almost halfway my time, and I got much more of this story to tell. Okay. So what is this process? I've encouraged you to share your stories in many different venues, and I am suggesting that you do it by publication so that it could be disseminated by others. But I will also tell you it is not easy. It is not easy. It's a labor of love. I mean, you know, we are not in this for the money. Well, I'm speaking for myself. We are in this because we believe the future of work can be changed by you. Yes, Roseanne, I see you smiling. It can be changed by you and you and you. Each one of us can take a part of changing the story of the world when we change our own personal story. And as Roseanne said when she talked in her remarks, the student that's representing other students, you help others. She was helping her peers, but each one of us can take on that responsibility and help change the world. And I already told you it's not easy. So we started scratching our heads. Listen, we put out a call for papers and we said, oh, maybe a few people, a call for chapters. That's what it's called in the book publishing world. And we said, oh, maybe a few people might answer with abstracts, a few abstracts. Well, initially we got like 75 abstracts. Mind you, the publisher is only contracted with us for 15 chapters, right? So we said, oh, there'll be a drop off. Maybe nobody will submit the full chapters. We got almost 50 full chapters. Then we really had to scramble because we had reviewers, maybe 20 or so reviewers. We had to triple the number of reviewers so that we can manage the double-blind peer review process so that all of those chapters that came in. The point here is there is a void that needs to be filled. And when people get the opportunity to tell their perspective of the story, they are empowered, they are enlightened, and they are able to help make a difference in their lives and in their communities. So, you see Professor Michael Crump there. I mean, he went around to all of his friends. He went around to some other folks. He actually wrote a chapter himself, and he benefited by the process of the double peer reviewed blind review so that he could improve his work and he could prepare his work for others to see. And we also had an administrator. I will tell you, the first process with Dr. Dada helped us understand that you need administrative help. I mean, the academics, we enjoy the intellectual discourse, but this work requires a lot of administration too. And so you need everybody to come together to help get these stories ready to go to market. So we had our call for chapters. We had diversity in the author recruitment process. Micah told you yesterday, we had authors from all around the world, literally from around the world. And we had geographic diversity. This particular publisher requires geographic diversity, meaning that all of the chapters couldn't come from the US or the UK, or even all coming. We had a lot of chapters from South Africa. But they wanted geographic diversity. That was part of their process. I already told you we had to triple the editorial board, and it was double blind peer review and had to meet the standards of the publisher. I also shared with you that, I haven't shared with you. So April 5th, we were supposed to have all of those chapters blind reviewed, and we felt a little short, but we are very close enough that they can make a call and actually sending the book for pre-promotion publication. But we'll get there because we have a committed and a dedicated team. So Micah shared with you some of the topics. I just want to take a little time and share with you some of the titles so you could see the diversity and the scope and the wealth that we believe will come through. Maybe all of them won't be published at one time. The publisher is also willing to do double volumes because we got so many stories and such a big response. But let me go to one that talks about, we heard the professor from Rutgers talk about ethics today in the panel from Professor Ford. The analysis of business ethics and social responsibility. We had a presentation on that today. Practices in government agencies in South Africa. Black women entrepreneurs, if you don't know it, in the US, the fastest growing segment of entrepreneurs in this country is Black women entrepreneurs. Part of the reason for that is some of the structural issues in the labor marketplace. We still have some discrimination. And so you will find that a lot of Black women go into corporate and they go into some of these other areas and they hit a glass ceiling and they said, oh, well, I'll just go out and start my own business. So many Black women are starting businesses at a very fast pace. And the title of this one is An Exploration of Structural Factors Driving the Financial Capital Access. Then we heard all throughout our programs the last 2 days, collaboration. Well, it's not just collaboration in one place. This is collaboration, entrepreneurship, and sustainability in mountain tourist destinations in Portugal. The next one, I'm just pulling out a couple of them. We heard today about inclusivity, development of sustainable and inclusive entrepreneurship ecosystems model in the Palestine. You see, we still got that very global geographic diversity. And here's one. Digital equity for women economic agencies. And many of the authors are also women. So women with their own lens are telling you what they see for the future, and it's not necessarily the lens of someone else. I'm not saying that there's no value in that, but I'm saying there's a lot of value from a women doing the perspective and doing the analysis and then presenting it. A key pathway for economic recovery and sustainable development. Disparities and informal economy, and India perspective. You know, there's disparity all over the world. And sometimes in our little silos, we say, oh, there's disparity in the US, but there's disparity all over. And looking at different cultures and appreciating different cultures, we can come together and find solutions together, embodying the voice of the youth entrepreneurship. This is a hot theme all over the world. In Africa, the fastest growing part of that population is youth. And what is happening is the opportunities of jobs are not there fast enough for them. So youth are really talking about entrepreneurship, and several governments are looking for programs. Now, I will tell you, colleagues, we're in the academy. And what is happening is we don't have programs fast enough for the way that some of these populations are growing. So they're looking at apprenticeships, they're looking at certifications, they're looking at trade schools, they're looking at ways of finding people jobs and for job creators. I've said that over and over in many of the presentations I've given. It's wonderful to get a job, but I want to help those who are becoming job creators. Why? Because they can help others in the community faster than I can help find jobs for all the students. So if we can find some way of accelerating job creation, we will be closer to decreasing some of that wealth gap. And I tell people, I'm not suggesting that others don't deserve the wealth that they have. All I'm saying is that we need to find better ways for us in our communities to generate our own wealth. You know, there is a lot of income in our communities, but it goes out. There's leakages. I'm not going to go get there on you. You know what? I just get excited about this, and I have to slow my roll down because my time is coming to the end. And you know, but really, we can do this together. Another one is global income disparity and entrepreneurship. And I truly believe entrepreneurship is a vehicle to decrease some of that income disparity that we find in our communities. Green economy, there's a lot of work that's going on in the green economy and the future of work and youth entrepreneurs. One of our own faculty members yesterday talked about his work in the green economy, Professor Price. He's doing a lot of work in the area of the green economy. And so let's look at leadership, empathy, and inclusion. We can't say enough about where our leadership is globally, worldwide. I mean, you know, if you look at the situation in the Ukraine, we don't have to go to the Ukraine. Look right in Brooklyn where we had that incident this morning. So how can we come together as a community in empathy and then put our arms around everyone to get to the solution? Everybody wants to talk to the problem. We know the problem. The problems have been with us for a long time. But how do we get together and work on this? And I honestly believe in a bottom-up solution. You got to start with where you are and the experiences people have. Local lessons during a global crisis, inclusive entrepreneurial solutions to supply chain and production deficits. Pace of technology changes needed for adaptation. There are jobs everywhere, but are our students in our community ready to embrace the jobs that are being created in the future? And if not, how fast can we get them ready? I mean, we owe this to our young people who are the future leaders. They're not even the future, they're the leaders now. They're the leaders now. How can we get them better prepared to do the job that they're going to have to do? And so this is my last one, talking about topics. I knew you thought it would never end, but it's coming to an end very soon, very soon. I believe in entrepreneurship. I believe entrepreneurship is the way to self-determination. Now, is it for everybody? No, but for those that it's for, those wonderful job creators, we want to embrace them. We want to help them. We want to document their experience and help others replicate the successes and minimize the failures. You know, the problem isn't starting a company. Many people know how to do startups. The real challenge is in sustainability. How do you keep those companies running? How do you keep them when we just went through a pandemic? And is it okay to fail? Yes, but how do you get them to stand up and come back and do what they know how to do? Because if you got an entrepreneur who has some skills, and yesterday, Professor Price talked about the prisoners, and they are entrepreneurs in their own right, running some of the largest businesses, whether they be drug or whatever. How do we bring them in and help them run businesses in the other economy? Because they're great businessmen and they are locked up in jail. So let's bring them out of jail and teach them how to go straight. You know, I'm almost at the end of this. Let me just say, yeah, I thought it was one more. I'm not going to do this, but you see the theme: race, women, entrepreneurship, sustainability. That is the theme and the topic. And I'm at 20 minutes now. You see, that is always good to have your timer on. I'm at 20 minutes now. And so I just want to thank all of you who stayed and endured to the end. And I don't